That's the brand new National that we've been playing on 89.3 The Current, Sunshine on My Back, just in time for the first Sunshine on Our Backs. And I'm joined by one of the members of the National, Bryce Dessner, who's in town to play a couple of shows completely unrelated to the National. But I wanted to start with that song because, first of all, I knew it was a collaboration with Sharon Van Etten. We heard that she was on it. But also, I come to find out now that it's got some strings by one of the collaborators that you've worked with in the other area of the music that you work with, Bryce, which is this contemporary classical music that you're playing at the Walker tonight.
Yeah, so a friend, Nico Muley, did strings for that, and he's somebody that shares my interest and also Richard's interest in composition, and my background being mostly classical. The theme that kind of connects these worlds for me, I think, is collaboration. So, working with Sharon, I did a lot of the orchestration on that. So, and probably many of the same string players you hear. In fact, possibly Caroline Shaw, who is somebody that is also joining us at the Walker tonight and tomorrow. So, yeah, I think at the Walker we're presenting 2 evenings of music. It's called Music of Bryce Dessner, but really it's a celebration of my music and my friends.
I was going to ask about that. Is that because you curated it? Do they come to you and say you can decide who's going to be on the bill and what you're going to play?
Yeah, they asked me. I run a small contemporary music festival in Cincinnati called Music Now that's been just at its 10th year, and Richard's been there probably 7 times at least. And so they asked me to kind of curate something a little bit similar, which is it very much kind of mixes these things of like song and then more kind of adventurous composition on the same program.
And we have to say it's the SPCO's Liquid Music Series presented in combination with the Walker Arts Center. And Bryce was saying earlier that the 2 stars of music have always been part of his life. Richard Reed Parry from Arcade Fire, is that the same for you? Did you start out with one and go to the rock band? And
I didn't start out writing new classical music per se and then move into having a rock band. I more have been kind of a multi-headed musical beast my whole life, kind of heading off in many directions at once.
Right.
But definitely having a hand in both worlds has always been the case for me. And having, musical inclinations going in many, many directions has always been quite natural to me. And I sort of have visions of this music and of that music and this loud, exciting thing and this vision for a very quiet, delicate thing and this vision for a folky old style thing, and it really goes like forwards and backwards and up and down all at the same time for me.
So for the audience who usually put themselves in boxes too in terms of what genre of music they like or what style of music they like, what do you think is the most effective way to say, hey, if you like what we do in the National or Arcade Fire, you might be interested in what we're doing tonight and Saturday at the Walker?
Bryce and myself both come from a sort of wide open-minded musical paradigm, and I think hopefully that kind of thing just naturally attracts whatever the music is that you're working on. That kind of wavelength attracts other people, hopefully of a kindred musical mindset. And I think that from my experience with Arcade Fire fans and with National fans, because I've hung out with both quite a bit, I think that we do attract really kindred musical spirits and people with open minds and who just want to experience something that's real and something that's beautiful and something that's unique and something that's trying to dig below the surface.
Did you want to add to that, or
just that I think that we as musicians in our bands or in these various projects, I like to think that our audience is pretty adventurous. I don't sit around listening to 10 other bands that sound like the National. Right. And I don't think Richie does that either.
Not even one.
So there aren't any other bands that sound like you guys. Come on.
But there are, we have like pretty wide-ranging music taste, and so hopefully the great joy for me would be if people come out and discover something new. If for instance, discovering Richard's composition work or Caroline Shaw's music, which is just incredible, would be a real joy.
And just as visceral and powerful and immediate as any rock music, it just is a different aesthetic and it's a different sort of framework around it. It's not loud drums and sort of big guitars, but it's something equally thoughtful and sort of dynamic and beautiful and interesting.
Bryce, just real quickly, the 2 nights aren't the same, and how are they separate and how are they different? How did that work for you as a curator?
Specifically, tonight is featuring musicians from the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra. We have a really great group of string players. So they'll be playing 2 string orchestra works of mine, and then 2 pieces by Richard and 2 pieces by Caroline.
Sweet.
Also, Richard will be singing some of his songs tonight, which is really exciting. Tomorrow night features So Percussion, which are this amazing percussion quartet from New York City. And they'll be performing a piece of mine as well as some music with another band called Book and Gaze that are this great kind of post-punk duo. So tomorrow night is sort of has a percussion theme and tonight is strings. That's how I would sort of generalize.
Nice.
I would also say that tonight Richard is playing a lot of music. So Richard's kind of the star tonight.
Well, Richard, I just enjoyed the new album this week. It's been great to be introduced to your work through this because this has a special compositional concept behind it.
Yeah, so it's all chamber music. It's various sizes of small ensemble strings and winds and guitars. And it's all music that is written to be played at the speed of the heartbeats or the breathing of the players. So it's got a really fragile, quiet, delicate quality to it, and kind of always feels like it might be on the edge of falling apart, but at the same time it's sort of highly melodic. And it all just came out of an idea that I had a long time ago, wondering what would music sound if it was played like that, if it was sort of regulated by the inner rhythms of the players involved.
Right. And so they listen to it in a special way, right? They listen to their
they wear
heartbeat.
stethoscopes while they play. All these classical musicians get taped up with ace bandages and stethoscopes, and they're listening to their heartbeats while they play. And it just makes for a really unique listening experience.
You say that it doesn't always take the same length of time to play a piece.
Yeah,
right?
it's slightly different every time just because everybody moves at a different speed, and that's how it works. But it hangs together. It sounds like it could be a really intellectual, difficult exercise, but it's sort of a highly pretty affair.
Thanks to Bryce Dessner and Richard Reed Parry. Let's hear a track from Richard's CD, Music for Heart and Breath on 89.3.